Where's the camera? Hello. Hold on 1 second. I didn't realize the camera turned off. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it's raining here. Maybe it's raining there too. And I never took the fan out of the window. Should I do that? Is it irritating? I don't know. It's cool for me, like it's keeping it not humid because it's really humid still. Let's just go make sure this is working. I hope. Come on now. Come on now. Switch account. All right, let's go ahead and get this pulled up and share the screen. Ta-da. There we go. All right. So we're going to kind of jump right into it. If you watched part 1, I will show you where we left off. And then we'll get started. So we had left off here with the Blue Star Kachina section. Now it's a whole, they get into where this prophecy came from and why they believe we're at the time in the prophecy that we're in. So, all right, United Nations, that's the section that we're on. Let me make sure it is showing to you guys as well. Oh no. Oh no. Are you guys seeing it? Because I'm not seeing it here. Hold on. There it is. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so this is where we left off. And a lot of things happened in this era, in this like 5-year period between 1945 and 1948, 1950. And I do have the chat put up here so I can see it and comment back to you guys. I haven't like tried the pop out and all that yet because I have to do it while it's live. And I just don't want to disrespect your time like that. So if you'd be okay with that, let me know and I can do that at the beginning or the end of one of the videos. Okay. So if you go back in the playlist, there is a part 1 to this, but there's also a video where I went over some of the things that occurred at the end of World War II and that whole era. Let me turn this down because it does seem loud to me. I apologize. I knew I was forgetting something and I couldn't remember what I was forgetting. Okay. So a lot of things happened. You had the United Nations was created. Israel became a nation or a state recognized by other nations. Okay. It became an actual land nation, I guess. Again, who knows how many times we've done this. What else happened in that point of time? You had Hitler looking for all of these occultic and sacred artifacts throughout history. And you had a lot of funny things going on in the skies as well. You also had the creation of the Vegan Society because there was rationing happening regarding meat during the war era. And so they ended up, some people decided to stick with that diet. They felt so healthy. And they had changed their mind after the war about what was acceptable and what wasn't. So they created the Vegan Society. So you had all these different things coming together with different peoples, different tribes, different nations in the mid 40s. So that is definitely something to pay attention to. Okay, so we read about the red Kachina. We read about the blue Kachina. We saw that they were comparing the one of those figures to Christ. We also saw that the little tribal guy, the little Hopi caricature with his mask matches greatly the iPad Goat 2 dancing tribal mask scene. But we've went over that before, but he does change a few times as he rotates, which is interesting considering what they say about the clock rotating. So now we're going to continue So what this is it's the Hopis explaining the prophecy and why they feel we are at the end of another age and what they feel is going to come of that and how it's affecting different people. And also, we're going to find out what their elders taught and what they thought as well, which is really cool because all of their traditions are passed along orally, which I'm beginning to think that that's a really reliable way. Now, follow me here. I know in high school we all played that, or middle school we all played that telephone game to show you how quickly gossip rumors can start because of, just a simple miscommunication. But I'm talking about elders who sat down around the fire and told the same stories night after night, whether it was pioneer days or whether it was a tribal person, under the stars and around the fire. You had people sharing stories of like their ancestry or their bloodlines or their tribes, and also their legends of creation and the creator for each specific culture. So these are stories that people would have wanted to hear, they would have paid attention to them. And I don't think that you would have had many miscommunications if it's passed along that way in a sacred and reverent manner, as we talked about yesterday, how there doesn't seem to be anything that we consider sacred anymore. Our bodies are shown off. I was a part of that for a time. Oddly enough, I saw the woman who encouraged me to take some pictures. She said she wanted to broaden her horizons and get better at photographs because all she had photographed were babies. Um, this targeting thing, when they come after you, they bring every temptation that they can through your friends and family. And this is why I will often say, the spirit of violence, the spirit of lust, because I don't want to name and blame. I feel like that's another negative thing that we do in this time. And all of these things are culminating our behaviors, the way we consume things, what we consume, they're all leading to something. And you have the one side saying, well, that's ridiculous, to worry about the planet. You're just a tree hugger, this, that, and the other. It doesn't have to be like that. Like on the screen, they show you these polarizations of both sides. But oftentimes, when you have regular people in a neighborhood, you can find common ground and come together. And when I talk about government, that's my vision of it, is a smaller council where everyone gets a voice in some type of way, and where it rotates every couple of years between people. And there's no voting, you can't buy votes. Somehow it's just chosen, maybe by the eldest of the community, something of that nature. So, the United Nations, we're going to discuss the history of certain things. Then in 1948, an unprecedented gathering of traditional spiritual leaders from every village of the Hopi Nation came together to consider the body of oral history. Oh, okay. And prophetic knowledge of their oral history. See, I don't read ahead usually. I try to read this with you guys. That way, if something synchronistic happens, we all experience it. And prophetic knowledge of their oral history triggered by signs, gourd of ashes or World War II, indicating that the time of great purification was beginning. This assembly appointed four messengers from among the Hopi traditional elders to attempt to bring this message of the coming purification by fire. Sounds like Revelation, doesn't it? To the world. Their prophecies foretold that if the Hopis' request to address the house of Micah was refused after knocking, visiting 4 times, mankind would surely be destroyed. The first delegation to the house of Micah was refused in 1949. All right, hold please. So what that's telling us is it's talking about the prophecy, and then it's talking about how this prophecy is unfolding. All right. And it's interesting that we are also told that in the book of Revelation, it won't be a flood this time, it will be fire. And I finally saw a TikToker talk about it yesterday. It's going to be fire because it's going to have to be that hot, that pure. And this is why we are changed in the twinkling of an eye, whatever that means. This AI thing, going forward with it and seeing Christians use it too, is really upsetting because not only is it demonic, but it's demonic because it's anti-human. Why is it anti-human? because it doesn't have a true consciousness given to it by God, the creator maker. And so it's using all this water, and water is life, and it's used to keep us alive and sustain us. And it holds memory, and it's alive in its own way. And I don't think that we should be wasting water. It's there's gonna time come a time really soon where they're gonna limit how much water we use in a day, what we're allowed to use it for. And I'm not saying it's bad to be conservative. I'm saying it becomes a bad thing when somebody else has to instill morals and values and ethics in the public. You're gonna get a tyrant, and that's just how it seems to work. We should put the brakes on just because we need the water, right? And the water should be for mankind and for the animals, and it's their home, some of them. Uh, and these data centers, I imagine they'll be very ugly. They're just going to be utilitarian, very mechanical, and still they're going to be using all this precious water. And then they're going to tell us to conserve. And this is what I was talking about at the end of World War II when everybody mid to end World War II when you had rationing occurring, and then some people decided to eat that way anyway because it was healthier, but they had to be told, right? They had to be told that this was a time of scarcity, that this is a time for us to all pull together. They had to be told to ration. People just didn't do it on their own. And that's my issue with these prophecies that unfold. We are warned. We are told these things over and over again. Our movies warn us. We have some prophets who write books and movies, and we've seen how I, Robot and I Am Legend end. And I Am Legend, it's the cocktail in the arm, and in I, Robot, it's the machinery and the. I mean, I'm not saying that AI isn't sentient because I believe that it is. And I don't believe that it's God or anything like that. I think it's the opposite of God. Uh, and that's just my take on it. So says this assembly appointed four messengers, and that they went ahead and they refused one of, even knowing the prophecy ahead of time, they refused the first knocking. So that was bad. Whoops, sorry. Okay, this assembly appointed four messengers, and then in 1959, another delegation after the first one. So this is 10 years later, which isn't a lot of time, but it's enough time for something like for a gathering like this for people to change their ways. So in 1959, another delegation of six traditional Hopi elders, led by Dan K, traveled to the UN building and were also refused. So that's two. There's two more knockings coming. Okay. It was only in 1991 that Thomas Ben knocked for the fourth time and was finally permitted to address the General Assembly for a few minutes during the opening ceremonies of the UN's International Year of Indigenous Peoples, December 10th, 1992. Wow, how ridiculous. He was the last speaker, and only a few UN delegates remained to hear him. How unfortunate. Here's what he said: We have made a sacred covenant to follow Masao, the Great Spirit's life plan at all times, which includes the responsibility of taking care of this land and life for his divine purpose. Ooh, I'm getting chills. That's fire. Our goals are not to gain political control, monetary wealth, or military power, but rather to pray and to promote the welfare of all living beings and to preserve the world in a natural way. Hopi in our language means a peaceful, kind, gentle, and truthful people. We made a sacred covenant which includes the responsibility of taking care of this land and life for Masao, the Great Spirit's purpose. Our goal is to pray and promote the welfare of all living beings and to preserve the world in a natural way. Thomas Banyakia, United Nations General Assembly, 1992. That's fire. And I don't care what kind of a dork I sound like, that's fire. Let me ask you a question. If we are in the end of days and some great cataclysm occurs, and there are angels looking around for just one righteous man, what tribe do you think it would be from? A people like that, Hopis. They're preserving the natural way of life for the Creator's divine purpose. You can't get much deeper and still simplistic at the same time. That's beautiful. I think that's beautiful. Okay. White roots of peace gatherings. In addition to these attempts to communicate with world leaders, the mandate given to the four Hopi leaders also included creating unity amongst the many indigenous peoples of the world, including whites, though the white roots of peace, unquote, gatherings that would share prophetic and sacred knowledge and oral and cultural histories. This began across the United States but rapidly expanded to include North, Central, and Southern American tribes, and eventually the rest of the world. They began to have these around 1950, and eventually many powwows began to include spiritual gatherings, discussion, and ceremony. We're going to divide the United States into four sections, excuse me. And each year we're going to have a gathering. We're going to call these the White Roots of Peace gatherings. And they authorize certain men to speak in English for the first time about these prophecies. Dr. Ellen Ross, we are all related. Oh, fire. This stuff touches my soul. When I hear that there are people out there like this and who still think like that. I mean, this was 1992. I don't know if him or his family's still alive or if that was passed on down to the children of his line. But oh, what a way to look at life, and like that's how we're supposed to see it. I wonder if they still have this. I would love to go. Love to go. Like right now, if the Hopi invited me to live on their land with them, I would not say no. I would grab my stuff and go right now because that sounds like a beautiful way to live to me. Okay. And it's going to get very hot. You know, you have to understand with all the cement that we have everywhere, all the blacktop, you're going to have all these data centers. We have one moving in. That is a lot of energy that they're using. And when you're creating energy, you're creating heat. And so everything around us is only going to continue to get hotter and increase, in temperature that way. The gathering of the eagles is one of many annual gatherings that has grown out of white roots of peace of the 1950s held throughout the Americas, and most recently in July 2001 in New Mexico, Gathering of Eagles is about the coming together of North and South American indigenous elders for spiritual and cultural exchange. All are welcome who come in peace and respect. That's how I feel about this channel. Ceremonies, prayer, and general sharing of wisdom will be part of the circle. Wisdom of the Grandmother's Foundation. That is awesome. Hopi history. I want to see real quick. I'm just going to do a search so I don't forget that I want to look it up. Gathering of the Eagles. I just want to see. There we go. Do they still have them? Oh, hello. Save the date. Gathering of the Eagles Conference, June 13th through 14th, 2024. That's Hollywood, Florida, that one. It's also a film, so when you search it, other things come up. Okay, I just wanted to see if they still did that, if they still organized that. I'm gonna I'm gonna do more research on that on my time. Hopi history. The Hopi and others who were saved from the Great Flood. Huh. We're told it was only Noah. And I wouldn't doubt that because every culture, every nation, every landmass, which to me is nation, um, every landmass nation has its own story of the flood. And you can't have the story of the flood unless there was someone to tell the story of the flood, right? And they even have like their own drawings, images, renderings. And so it is not irresponsible to consider the fact that very possibly there were other tribes spread throughout, a couple here, a couple there. Noah was a man of God, so they spoke of him. Now, again, we talk about misappropriation and reappropriation. I believe they've done that. I believe that they have mixed up the tribes and the names and the peoples. It's very possible Noah was a Hopi. All right. Again, the renaming of things and people and land masses has been something they've done since the beginning. Just changing language, to try and fool people and mock them and make a mockery of our lives. If you don't know where you come from, it's very hard to know where you're going or where you are meant to go. And they know that our roots should be important to us, and a lot of us, like me, don't have any. Okay, the Hopi and others who were saved from the Great Flood made a sacred covenant with the Great Spirit, never to turn away from Him. He made a set of sacred stone tablets. Interesting. And Noah has tablets called Tiponi, into which he breathed his teachings, prophecies, and warnings before the Great Spirit hid himself again. Interesting. He placed before the leaders of the four different racial groups four different colors and sizes of corn. Each was to choose which would be their food in this world. Four perfect ears of Indian corn. Interesting. The great migrations, past and future. Upon their arrival, and again, this is backstory because you have to understand how this all came to be and why they think we are at the end of the age right now. And we've already talked about how some of the spirits upon the earth will be spirits of the ancients, and some of the spirits that are in this plane with us were never meant to be. Nephilim were never meant to be. And they are here now, and they're using damage control to hide that fact. Oh, it's demon syndrome. For whatever reason, the hypnosis, the mesmerism is wearing off on people's eyes, and they're able to just look in front of them. And I think what's happened is other people's words are losing. They're no longer sticking to people and causing, because if somebody tells you something enough times, repetition, that's something used in brainwashing or advertising, believe it or not. Repetition is the easiest way to get somebody to take on the yoke of a new belief or a new product or a new way or something, right? Um, so that's something that we need to think about too. So, anyways, I'll take those off now. Okay, so upon their arrival in the fourth world, now they believe there are different, like, in the other link that we read, we did this video a long time ago at the beginning of this channel. Uh, it used different words sometimes. Hold on a second. I want to tell you. They would stop upon the fourth world. The other one that I read said the fourth age. So we'll keep going, but just keep that in mind. Upon their arrival in the fourth world, because they had to pick the corn that they wanted in their world to be their food, the Hopis divided and went on a series of great migrations throughout the land. Sometimes they would stop and build a town, then abandon it to continue on with the migration. However, they would leave their symbols behind in the rocks to show that the Hopi had been there. Long the divided people wandered in groups of families, eventually forming clans named after an event or sign that a particular group received upon its journey. Kind of sounds like the journey of the Israelites in the desert, doesn't it? The elder brother was told to go immediately to the east toward the rising sun, and upon reaching his destination, to start back immediately to look for his younger brother, who remained on Turtle Island, the continental United States of America. We're called Turtle Island? No kidding. I didn't. That's the first time I've heard that. Hold, please. I need some water. His mission was to help his younger brother to bring about the purification day. And again, this is also in the Bible. It is said that Uriel is the angel for the end days and that he has the discs of fire. And there are also, this touches on this same time period when Adolf Hitler was looking for all of these relics. There is also some type of device that sounds like a dew, like a laser that can just set that thing on fire and nothing else, right? And that reminds me of what we saw in the Palisades and Paradise too. And that one, when all this started around 2018, that Matthew McConaughey has a movie out about that right now. Okay. His mission was to help his younger brother to bring about the purification day, at which time all evildoers would be punished or destroyed. after which real peace, brotherhood, and everlasting life would be established. The elder brother would restore all land to his younger brother, from whom the evil one among the white men had taken it. The elder brother of the shining light also would come to look for the Toponi tablets and fulfill the mission given him by the Great Spirit. The younger brother was instructed to travel throughout the land and mark his footsteps as he went about. Both brothers were told that a great white star would appear in the sky. When that happened, all people would know that the elder brother had reached his destination. Thereupon, all people were to settle wherever they happened to be at that time, there to remain until the elder brother returned. The Hopi settled in the area now known as Four Corners, where the state lines of Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado meet. They lived in humble simplicity, and the land produced abundant crops. This area is the heart of Turtle Island, the US, and of Mother Earth. Interesting. Somebody asked me about this when I first started this channel, and people actually fellowshipped with me. Somebody had asked me about, well, don't you want your family to be safe? And I'm like, well, it kind of doesn't matter where you're at, things are going to happen. But God will protect his people. And I've been feeling called to the desert, and I know some other people have felt called to wander at this time. And somebody asked me about the Four Corners area, if I would go there, if I thought that would be safe. And apparently the Hopi feel like it'll be safe. Okay, so it is the heart of Turtle Island and of Mother Earth, and is the microcosmic image of the macrocosm of the entire planet. The microcosm image of the macrocosm image of the entire planet, meaning square. Each Hopi clan perpetuates a unique ceremony, and the ceremonies together maintain the balance of natural forces of sunlight, rain, and winds, and reaffirm the Hopi respect for all life and trust in the Great Spirit. White Feather Hopi Bear Clan. Okay. And now this is pretty amazing that they are giving out this much information, because they're pretty I mean, the more you search, the more you'll find, but I've had to search for a while for information like this that was gathered together in one place by someone of their tribes, because they are very I don't want to say secretive, but obviously they have trust issues. They don't trust people, especially, Caucasian people, and I can't blame them for that. So according to Hopi belief, the survivors, I mean, I feel the same way about some men just because of what happened to me. And it's not a predisposition that I had all the time, or a prejudice that I always had. It's just something that I know now. Oh, okay, men can be very dangerous, especially when you're smaller than them. So I'm gonna, walk this out a little differently than I used to. Uh, so, according to the Hopi belief, the survivors of the Great Deluge thousands of years ago split up into four groups that moved north, south, east, and west. Only one group completed their journey to the North Pole and back, under the guidance of a brilliant star within which Masao traveled. Messiah? Interesting. Od Arabi. I don't know what Arabi is. There is one particular village on the Hopi Mesas of northwestern Arizona that once had all the different medicine societies represented by kivas. These societies determine the leadership hierarchy within all the villages. Then there are clans, and the clans each represent a different knowledge. And see, how the clans will live together as a tribe, or the families will live together as a tribe, all sharing the knowledge that they have passed down throughout all these centuries. Man, that's just beautiful. Okay. And people, a lot of, my children don't understand, their generation doesn't understand that digital does not mean more secure. It's actually less secure because it's out of your control. I don't have my money in my pocket, therefore I can't watch and make sure it's not being stolen. Do you see what I mean? I try to use simple analogies to like explain, because some, again, literal brain damage is caused by some of the certain EMF waves and frequencies, and and by, heavy metal damage. I'm not a doctor. No part of this is medical advice. My disclaimers are in the description box. Okay. There's one particular village on the Hopi Mesas of northwestern Arizona that once had all the different medicine societies represented by the Kivas. So these societies determine the leadership hierarchy within all the villages. Then there are clans. And I'm thinking those are like what we would, not exactly, but we would compare to like a modern nuclear family, but a big family, and the clans each represent a different knowledge. Arabi was founded sometime before the year 1100 AD, making it one of the oldest continuously inhabited settlements within the United States. Amazing. Hopi Women's Dance, Arabi, Arizona, 1879. 1879. Look at that picture. That's wild. Arabi remained unknown to European explorers until about 1540 when Spanish explorer Don Pedro de Tovar was part of the Coronado expedition, encountered the Hopi while searching for the legendary Seven Cities of Gold. Oi. So you have the seven angels over the seven churches and the seven mountains, the seven seals, and now there's seven cities of gold. What if each church is in a city? If we are in, according to the Bible, if we are in Satan's short season, that's possible. Or again, it's just they were so far advanced than we are now. In the 1540s, the village was recorded as having 1,500 to 3,000 residents. Contact with the Europeans remained scant until 1629, when the San Francisco Mission was established in the village. Interesting. In 1680, the Pueblo Revolt resulted in decreased Spanish influence in the area and the cessation of the mission, obviously. Subsequent attempts to reestablish the mission in Hopi villages were met with repeated failures. The former mission is still visible today as a ruin. Interesting. But I can see that they want to preserve things and leave them as they are. And a lot of times, churches use that excuse, the church, a front, we're good people when we want to do good. The government does the same thing, nonprofits does the same thing. There's a lot of virtue signaling in our generation and in this time that we're living in. But a lot of that is like a facade. You could knock it over, you could blow it over like it's a tissue paper. I'm not saying everybody. And obviously, people who come to videos and smaller channels like mine, we're seeking, right? We're looking. We want to understand what's happening. We want to maybe prevent the worst case scenarios from occurring. And in order to do that, we have to examine history, examine ourselves, and then examine ourselves as a current civilization, whatever that means. Okay, so friendlies versus hostiles. I'm sorry. Hopi interaction with outsiders slowly increased during 1850 to 1860 time periods through missionaries, traders, and surveyors for the U.S. government. They stood firm that whole time. Contact remained sporadic and informal until 1870 when an Indian agent was appointed to the Hopi, followed by the establishment of the Hopi Indian Agency in Keams Canyon in 1874. Friendlies versus hostiles. Interaction with the U.S. government increased with the establishment of the Hopi Reservation in 1882. This led to a number of changes for the Hopi way of life. Missionary efforts intensified. Oh, God. And Hopi children were kidnapped from their homes and forced to attend school, exposing them to new cultural influence. God forgive them. And I'm not going to say us because I was not a part of that. None of us were a part of that. Some people are a part of it now. You've got what is that called? The Highway of Tears, where only Indigenous women are being taken and unalived. You have these things happening all over, people targeted just because of the groups they're in. I was always a loner. I honestly, people just people just don't like me. People either really enjoy my company and the way I think, or they really don't understand, and for some reason that makes them attack me. I've been bullied all throughout life, even now by people who are supposed to be my friends. I'm a laughing stock, they tell me. These are things that, unfortunately, as tribes, we do to other people who are different than us or people that we don't understand. We want to force people or coerce people into living the way that we live. Well, they need to be civilized. I even read a comment not too long ago under a Sasquatch video. And there was this woman and this other person arguing back and forth, and she said, "Well, Sasquatch deserves to be recognized and have a social security number." And I'm thinking, if there is a Sasquatch, they've got it made. They're living as they want off the land. They're bigger than us, better hunters than us. They don't need the government. The last thing they want is a social security number. Again, just because this is your way of life doesn't mean it's the only way of life, and it definitely doesn't mean it's the best or ideal way of life. And in this time, the way that we're living, because of our predilection towards addiction and this excess, we're coming out of the 80s, and so a lot of us were raised on go big or go home. And so certain things we can form attachments to really easily, and you're seeing that happen with our devices and with our apps, and unfortunately not with each other. We're supposed to be more connected and we're less connected. So let's continue on. And again, I hate reading this part of our history. In 1890, a number of residents more receptive to the cultural influences moved closer. And hold, please. What if the Hopi are the right ones? What if we look at the Bible and we put ourselves, or whatever ancient text you're into, and you put yourself in the shoes of the hero, whoever that is, the hero's journey, or maybe the sidekick might be a better example. You don't want to be the hero, be a sidekick. I don't know. What if the Hopi are living the ideal way? Right? Like I think people need to really re-examine the way that they want to force other people to vote like them or eat like them or believe like them. Like, what does it matter so badly that I am where I'm at and I believe what I believe? Yeah, I will do apologetics for you back and forth a couple of times, but I'm not going to be browbeaten every day about why I should be this way or why I should vote this way or why I should change. Why do we do and I'm curious, let's have a conversation. Why as people do we do this to each other? You know? So in 1890, a number of residents more receptive to the cultural influence moved closer to the trading post to establish Kikotsmovi village, sometimes called New Orobi. Orobi, Hopi, Orobi. The continuing tension caused by the ideological schism between the friendlies, New Hopi to the traditional Hopi, those who were open to these cultural influences, and the hostiles or traditionalists, led by Yukiuma, who opposed them. Those who desired to preserve Hopi ways, led to an event called the Arabi Split in 1906. Tribal leaders on differing sides of the schism, boy, every group has a schism, engaged in a bloodless competition to determine the outcome. Well, that's good, which resulted in the expulsion of the hostiles. And they're calling the traditionalists, ones who are taking the prophecy from what they believe is the Great Spirit, right? And what he left them and he told them to do, but they're seen as the hostiles for doing what they were asked to do. Why are we like this? Who left to found the village of Hotavilla. Subsequent efforts by the displaced residents to reintegrate resulted in an additional split, with the second group founding Bakavi. Before the split, the Otorabi was a very complicated society. We were involved with different organizations, with fraternities, with groups comparable to the Masons, many things we don't know too. There were 14 kivas in Old Arabi before the breakup, much about today. There were 14 kivas in Old Arabi before the breakup, with the loss of much of its population. Arabi lost its place as the center of the Hopi culture. Before the white man moved in on us and sent missionaries in, the Hopis have been practicing their old religion according to their prophecies and the supervision of the high priests who had inherited the knowledge and according to the ritual calendar of the clans and the Kiva societies. We also had a sun watcher, an astronomer, you might say, who kept track of where the sun came up every day and told the people when it rose at a certain particular point, meaning that a certain ceremony should take place. Every clan had a particular responsibility. It had to do special things for the village. Hold, please. So everyone had a purpose. Just like today, we each and every one of us is essential just by being here. We each have a purpose. You might not have found yours yet. You might not even know what it is till later in your life and look back and say, oh, okay, my job was to bring people together. And I thought I was just a wanderer, but I did that. I brought this person and that person, just as an example. So, when the Catholic priests were thrown out back in the 1600s, wait, hold on. Every clan had a particular responsibility. It had to do special things for the village. My own clan, the Coyote, had the responsibility of taking the lead to protect the village in times of danger. When the Catholic priests were thrown out back in the 1600s, sometime, we took the responsibility in that and in tearing down the Catholic mission. Every clan had something particular to do for the village. It was very complicated. We had a village chief, a war chief, a crier chief, and many other officials who carried out their tasks. If there were difficulties between Kiva societies or clans, they were discussed and thrashed out in council in the Kivas, and whatever was decided down there was carried out. You could say that we had a wonderful social organization that really worked. That's Homer Kuyama K from July 1970. And there's the ruins of the Catholic mission on the Hopi Third Mesa. Although the Hopi tribal constitution, maneuvered into being by the coal mining interests in 1939, provides each village with a seat on the tribal council, Hotavilla, where most of the traditional Hopi settled, has declined to elect a representative and maintains independence from the tribal council. Kyotsmovi village is now the seat of the Hopi tribal government. So now we have an idea that there is a hierarchy there. They do have high priests that they answer to, but like all groups, they also had a schism. They experienced that um, great shaking of their foundation, and it split in half. They split in half as groups. Hopi creation. Now, this is important to understand their beliefs for how the earth came to be, because then you can understand a little bit better the prophecies of the end days. And it's also nice to hear the beliefs of others sometimes and put in a new perspective for the day, a new pair of glasses to look around at things and see how they look, and to realize that we're all not really that different. We all have different traditions that we carry on. We all have different tasks that we are given in our family. Some are known as the researcher, some are known as the baker, some are known as the hospitable one who, where everybody can stay during holidays. So everybody has a purpose, just like all of us. Hopi creation. In the beginning, there were only two, Tawa, the sun god, and Spider Woman. We talked about that a little bit, according to the prophecy. I'm going to mess this up. I apologize. Kokyan Wuti. Kokyan Wuti. Okay. And again, some of their words have a very Hebrewish sound to them, right? And so we have to take that into consideration too. And there are a lot of Hebrew words that were used to name some of these areas, which we've looked at when we've explored the map. Okay, so continue on. Spider Woman is the earth goddess. All the mysteries and the powers in the above belong to Tawa, while Spider Woman controlled the magic of the below. There was neither man nor woman, bird nor beast, no living thing, until these two willed it to be. In time, they decided there should be other gods to share their labors. Hold, please. This is also reminiscent of how the original Hebrew Jewish people, Israelites, whatever you want to call them, the real ones who teach, um, they believed that there were two iterations, that there was God the Father, and there was a splitting, and then you had the feminine aspect. And they even worshiped her or paid homage to her, but they went around breaking all of those idols uh, in the Old Testament. Now, again, that comes from the Old Testament, but the female aspect isn't in there. They don't mention that in our Old Testament, but you can see it when you transliterate the wording that it goes back to feminine connotations. What am I looking here for here? Like the feminine, masculine or feminine aspect concept. and you can see it, and that's when you see, oh, wow, there was 2, and you could see it in the Old Testament. Again, if you transliterate and you use your Strong's Concordance, it's pretty obvious at that point. Okay. In time, they decided there should be other gods, little g gods, to share their labors. So Tawa divided himself, and there came Miunwu, god of all life germs. And Spider Woman divided herself, and there came Husrutwuti, Husruwuti, woman of the hard substances, turquoise, silver, coral, shell. Ooh, I like those. Whose Husruwuti became, I'm sorry, the wife of Tawa, and with him produced Pukanyoha, the youth, and Pulanhuya, the echo, and later Hysenvaya, man-eagle, plumed serpent, and many others. Hold, please. Plumed serpent, if you look at the wording of America, allegedly, America is the land of the feathered serpent. But it's also called Turtle Island by the actual Hopi, so maybe that's misinformation. I don't know. In time, oh, we got there. Then did Tao and Spider Woman have the great thought they would make the earth to be between the above and the below. As Tawa thought the features of the earth, Spider Woman formed them from clay. Then did Tawa think of animals and beasts and plants. So if there is no animals yet or anything, how is she Spider Woman? What do they know what spiders are? Anyways, continuing on. Maybe she has a different Hopi name and they just don't relay it to us. If that's interesting, because she's the only one with that's an English name. Oh, the other one, right? Like spider, that's our word. So why is she the only one with a name that's English? Do you see what I mean about this stuff? That's how you discern, and that's how you dig at truth and lies. Like that just doesn't match, right? It doesn't. It's not what they said. Something's up there, but we won't look at that today. Okay, so then did Tawa think of animals and beasts and plants, all the while Spider Woman formed them from clay. At last they decided they had enough. Then they made great magic and breathed life into their creatures. Now Tawa decided, and again, breathing of life, the breath of God. A lot of, if you just pull yourself out of your own paradigm and put on this perspective for a little while, it's very similar to the Bible and other texts, Sumerians. Okay, because there's always like a twin set. There's always a positive and a negative, and it seems to be that way with beings too. It's interesting. So they decided they had enough, then they made great magic and breathed life into their creatures. Now Tawa decided they should make creatures in their image to lord over all the rest. Spider Woman again formed them from clay. Again, the two breathed life into their creation. Spider Woman called all the people, wait, Spider Woman called all the people so created to follow where she led. Through all the four great caverns of the underworld, she led them until they finally came to an opening, a sepapu, which led to the earth above. And that's the story of creation from a Hopi elder. Now this is the part, this is the meat that everybody probably came for. This explains the different ages. And look, they have runes. Viking Norse people have the Futhark runes. Like this is a common thing with everybody, and we're told that it's witchcrafty. And again, we've got to stop listening to the people who are lying to us about pretty much everything, right? You've got to investigate everything yourself. The four worlds and the sacred stone tablets. Hopi oral history tells us that the current earth is the fourth world, to be inhabited by Tawa's creations. The story essentially states that in each previous world, the people, though originally happy, became disobedient and lived contrary to Tawa's plan. They engaged in fornication and promiscuity of fornication. Hold, please. Hi, Michigander. They were promiscuous, and I told you yesterday, two of the biggest, if you want to have a quick spiritual upgrade, what I would I'm not giving advice. What you can do, what works for some mystics, right? Deny yourself something. Deny yourself all food for a few days. This is not medical advice. This is spiritual advice. All right? If you want to have a quick spiritual upgrade, if you want to have new eyes to see, deny yourself deny yourself food for a few days. Watch how much energy you have trying to stay busy and not think about or be sitting down, in front of food. Um, what you consume in your body, what you take in, and that includes sensual promiscuity. That's a big one. That can take everyone's vibration down around you. I know because I was bad about that. They have lost the ways. Oh, you don't know that. You don't know that. Obviously not, because here we are. There are still some. We need to, and that's the thing. Our generation needs to, and it's harder to go backwards than it is to go forwards, obviously, because you're like doubling back and fixing a mistake you made. Um, What we need to do is have another exodus and exodus the system. That's what we need to do. Head to the desert, protest the actual system. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to give up their finery, their luxury. Well, why should I do that? America is a very hedonistic, materialistic society, and that's just the truth. Okay, so oral history tells us that the current Earth is the fourth world to be inhabited by Tawa's creations. The story essentially states that in each previous world, the people, though originally happy, became disobedient and lived contrary to Tawa's plan. They engaged in sensual promiscuity. I'm off grid. Oh, that's awesome. Fought one another and would not live in harmony. See, that's another thing. The constant debating, the debate team, the Christians who debate atheist, like all of this debating, not good. There's going to come a point in time where you're going to see people still doing the screen thing, and there's not going to be anyone there watching them because some of the people watching are going to say, why am I doing this? Why am I wasting my time? Why am I not actually living my life? Why am I living my life vicariously through others on a screen, right? And I don't know how to get people to change their minds or change their ways. I don't know how to change my own ways completely. I just know I'm trying to do small things every day differently. I'm gonna probably get rid of the phone, and I've taken off certain apps so that I'm not spending as much time on those. Putting them on my computer so that when I want to actually upload a video, it has to be done here. Just everyday things. And at some point, I'm gonna stop making videos. God willing that I'm still living, I'm gonna stop and isolate myself even more, not from people, but from the system. And if the majority of people decide to stay on the system, well, that's up to them. Okay. So they were fighting one another and they would not live in harmony. Thus, the most obedient were led to the next higher world, with physical changes occurring both in the people in the course of their journey and in the environment of the next world. In some stories, these former worlds were then destroyed along with their wicked inhabitants, whereas in others, the good people were simply led away from the chaos which had been created by their actions. The creator provides if the dude abides. I love that. That's so cute. I like that. Sorry. Small things with me. It doesn't take much. Um, okay, so we read that. Now here are the runes of the elders. They have a pronunciation guide that goes along with them. If you'd like to see their runes and alphabet, it looks a lot like the Norse ones. They look very similar. Oh, check that out. Why does she got all that hair? A recent study discovered that some Icelandic people with deep roots in the country possessed mitochondrial DNA specific to Native Americans. Since mitochondrial DNA is passed down from women, it's most likely that a Native American woman crossed the Atlantic with Vikings and had children in Iceland. Pretty dope. Pretty cool. Okay, hold please. A little alkaline water, thanks. I didn't have any nectar of the gods today. I'm thinking Orange juice isn't so great. I mean, it's expensive now anyway, but the sugar, I need some orange juice without sugar. Like, that's the next thing I'm gonna deny myself is to try and pull away from sugar, although I did have a couple cups of coffee this month. And that's kind of an inside joke if you didn't see the other video. The emergence to the future fifth world has begun. Uh-oh. So are you wanting to remain on the old war earth that gets turned into a fireball? Or do you want to move forward in your spiritual and physical evolution? Spiritual evolution, physical walk, I'll say, because I don't believe in evolution, I'm not a Darwinian. Anyways, if this earth gets set on fire, will you leave? Will you be so attached to the people and the things and the Happy Meal toys and the things that just little stuff? Will you be so attached to all that, or even your family, that you'll stay? It could cost your soul. And I do believe, and the Bible echoes this, that there are different places you go, depending on who you are and what you've done and what you believe. Great light, everyone. Hey there, thanks for being here. I appreciate you guys chatting. So the emergence to this fifth world has begun. It is being made by the humble people of little nations, tribes, and racial minorities. You can read this in the earth itself. Plant forms from previous worlds are beginning to spring up as seeds. This could start a new study of botany if people were wise enough to read them. The same kinds of seeds are being planted in the sky as stars. The same kinds of seeds are being planted in our hearts. All these are the same depending on how you look at them. That is what makes the emergence, capital E, to the next fifth world, capitals. These comprise the 9 most important prophecies of the Hopis, connected with the creation of the 9 worlds. The 3 previous worlds on which we lived, the present fourth world, the 3 future worlds we have yet to experience, and the world of Taiwa, the creator and his nephew, Sarunk Sotun Kang. Sotun Kang. The Hopi and others were saved from the Great Flood, made a sacred covenant with Great Spirit, never to turn away from him. This covenant and the responsibilities it entailed were recorded in the stone tablets. And so as and so a long time passed, and the Great Spirit gave each of the 4 races stone tablets. Ours are kept at the Hopi Reservation in Arizona at Four Corners area on the third mesa. So they still have theirs. This is what comes from having a strong tribal life. I'm convinced now that they call the nuclear family nuclear because they knew it was going to blow up. Christ knew it was going to be wife against husband, father against son, because I have to use myself as an example again because I'm the only one I can speak for. For example, for me, living with 2 males and having me. Well, for me, it's always, is it your time of the month? Is your time of the month stopping? Is it your change in life? What did you eat today? Maybe you should eat meat. Why are you so grumpy? Like it's always something when you're a female, right? When you're living in a tribe, all the women are cooking and cleaning and nurturing together. And so the younger ones are learning by example, seeing the women who live this way. And they don't go off alone, right? If you have to go to another building in the tribe or whatever, in the village, you go together as a pair, 2 women. And the men and women are segregated throughout their day. So you never have like this workplace experience. I don't think the nuclear family was ever created to last. They pulled us out of our tribes. They cut our hair. And yes, I say our because I don't know what I am, but I'm pretty sure that I've got Native American in my blood because of my dad's French ancestry and because of how dark we are. And my mom looks just like Sitting Bull. Like, she looks just like him. It's bizarre. Anyways, moving on. So they still have their tablets. He made a set of sacred stone tablets called Toponi, into which he breathed his teachings, prophecies, and warnings. Before the Great Spirit hid himself again, he placed before the leaders of the 4 different racial groups 4 different colors and sizes of corn. Each was to choose which would be their food in this world. The Hopi waited until last and picked the smallest ear of corn. Oh, how humble they are. At this, the Great Spirit said, "It is well done. You have obtained the real corn. for all the others are imitations in which are hidden seeds of different plants. You have shown me your intelligence. For this reason, I will place in your hands these sacred stone tablets, Teponi, symbol of power and authority over all land and life to guard, protect, and hold in trust for me until I shall return to you in a later day. For I am the first and I am the last, Alpha and Omega. That was from White Feather Hopi Bear Clan. So they're going through all this and teaching you about how all these different things fit together and how they come to be and why they believe what they believe. It was indicated on the stone tablets that the Hopis would have the first brothers and sisters that would come back to them, reincarnate, as turtles across the land. Okay. They would be human beings, but they would come as turtles. So when the time came close to the Hopis, so when the time came close, the Hopis were at a special village to welcome the turtles that would come across the land, and they got up in the morning and looked out at the sunrise. They looked out across the desert and they saw the Spanish conquistadors coming, covered in armor, just like turtles across the land. I knew it was going to be something cool like that. It's kind of how I feel about the locusts. I'm wondering if those are drones, but we've had the drone issue for over 5 months, so I don't. It's probably not them unless they weaponize them. Then the locusts might partly be that. Anyway, so this was the turtles coming towards them across the land. So they went out to the Spanish men and they extended their hand, hoping for the handshake. But into the hand, the Spanish man dropped a trinket. And so word spread throughout North America that there was going to be a hard time, that maybe some of the brothers and sisters had forgotten the sacredness of all things, and all the human beings were going to suffer for this on the earth. It's all about how we treat each other and the judgment that we cast upon each other and the labels, the words. And you hurt with words, like they are powerful. You can convince somebody that they are sick or they have something wrong with them or um and again, this is why it's good to live as a tribe and not so much as the nuclear family, because you get into almost a competition with each other, and it shouldn't be that way. You should be depending on each other for food and survival. And of course, you'll treat each other better when that is the case. Um, the government is the one who gives everybody their stuff and things now, so that's who people are putting their trust in and their loyalty to, and it's unfortunate. Okay, so this is the front and back of one of them. This is the front and back of another one of the stone tablets. This is the front and back of another one, and this is the front and back of the other one. Okay, so let's take a look here. Now, this is obviously animals and crops, and this is people in harmony, apparently, growing and tending to and taking care of the animals and the crops. And that shows that man has dominion to be a caretaker over the land and the animals. That's my assumption right now. And this is like a tablet front. You've got the men there. So I would assume that means it's a message for men. And there's the back, which is weird because that almost looks like Space Invaders type stuff there. Is it supposed to be the turtles? I don't know. And then you've got corn there. Sick corn. They said hard times might be coming. Those look like ghosts, but maybe they're keyholes. Interesting. That looks like a piece of a picture. I don't know what that is. A dry desert. Then you've got the bear. Interesting. Okay. So tribes began to send people to the mounds to have visions to try to figure out how they could survive. Huh. At that time, there were 100,000 cities in the Mississippi Valley alone called the Mound Peoples Civilization. Here we go, getting into a little woo territory. Cities built on great mounds. Those mounds are still there. If you ever go to Ohio, this is like an hour from me, and I've begged to go for so long now. If you ever go out to Ohio or the Mississippi Valley, they're tourist attractions now. There was 100,000 cities of native people, and they were wondering how they could survive. They began to try to learn to live off the land because they knew a hard time was going to come. They began to send people to have visions to see how we could survive this time. People came on the East Coast and they went across this land into the West, and they were told in the prophecies that we should try to remind all the people that would come here of the sacredness of all things. If we could do that, then there would be peace on earth. But if we did not do that, If we had not come together as a human family, the Great Spirit would grab the earth with his hand and shake it violently. Ooh, that's frightening. Like that, I'm not scared of much these days, but that's kind of frightening. Here we go with the iPad Go 2 guy again. Hopi prophecy tells us that there will be a future mass migration of indigenous peoples northward from Mexico, Central and South America. What are you seeing now? What are you seeing happening right now at the border? I told you, man, we are living in a time. All right, let's see. The migration will be led by a 130-year-old Guatemalan indigenous chief named Achata Achata. Many prophecies south of the U.S. border have said that with this very great influx of indigenous peoples will come a reclaiming of their lands, especially California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and southern Colorado. And I'm being called to Arizona or New Mexico, one of the two. What am I supposed to walk there from Ohio? That's far. Google says I can do it in 30 days, but me and a pit bull and me being who I am, being hassled all the time, probably. I don't know if that, I don't know if they'd even let me leave this area. To strike the balance, many of this movement say that the Montezuma will return as well. The movement will come after the huge fire and explosion that will herald the advent of the true White Brothers' return. Interesting. Some say the huge fire and explosion will come from the Yellowstone National Park volcano or from the volcanoes in the Pacific Northwest around Seattle, Washington. And that Seattle prophecy has not come to pass yet, but I'm waiting for it because it has the Space Needle. And we know about needles right now. I say avoid them completely at this time. Some say it will be a nuclear explosion as a retaliation or both. That's from Lee Brown. He said that in 1986. It was at the Continental Indigenous Council in Fairbanks, Alaska. Okay, continue on. Fulfillment of the Hopi prophecy. Let me see how long we've been gone because today I'm going to make my son some fajitas to take with him. And I need to make sure that I have time to do that. I don't know why people are so surprised. Like when I had Facebook, like I would share stuff like that, but whenever I share a meal, well, that other person that makes videos about me told me how gross my food looked. Whatever. I don't know why. I don't know why people are just so nasty. Like, what do you get from that? You don't get anything. Anyways, people are always surprised that I do for my family. Just because they don't seem to be the same people doesn't mean I'm not going to still serve in the way that I'm supposed to. It's my calling. It's what I'm supposed to do is to help others. And so I serve my family in the ways that they allow me to by cooking for them, cleaning for them, doing their laundry, acts of love, because love is a verb. It's not just a thing you say. So, fulfillment of the Hopi prophecy. On April 1st, 1991, the Ministry of the Children, I wish somebody would just invite me there, like so I could say I belong there once I get there. But I do feel like we need to take back our inheritance, but who am I to say that? I don't even know who I am. But I think that's the point of all this. They were constantly kidnapping children and trading them back and forth. Fulfillment of Hopi prophecy. On April 1st, 1991, the Ministry of the Children attended the prophetic farewell meeting with His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, whom had visited the Tibet Project in Santa Fe, New Mexico, on behalf of the recent placement of many Tibetan refugees to Santa Fe from his headquarters in Dharamsala, India. Hopi elders Dan Ivahema, Thomas Banyakya, Martin Martin G., Caroline M., and Titus Q. were also in attendance. It was the first time in the 20th century that they had all come together for a common purpose, since their spiritual elder, David M., had passed on in the early 1980s. So the one who did that beautiful speech earlier on, he passed away, the guy that first spoke at the United Nations, when they finally let someone from the tribes be represented. I apologize. This desk, the space for legs is very not big. The week before his historic gathering, Martin G. had had brought the sacred Fire Clan tablets to show to the New Mexico governor Bruce King at Santa Fe, the first capital of the West, based on an ancient prophecy he had held sacred to his heart and soul. And there he is with the replica of the Fire Clan tablets. That's a replica. When the snake comes out of its hole in the winter, interesting, and the cactus flower blooms as well, it is time to take the tablets to the capital of the West. And I've thought that. I've thought about the fig tree and about Israel being in bloom again. And I've thought about Joshua tree, wondering if those trees have flower blooms on them. In mid-December 1990, Martin G. did in fact witness the above in Hopi land. It was this fulfillment of ancient prophecy that inspired the Ministry of the Children to present publicly for the first time the Manifesto for a Sovereign United Nations. Martin brought the sacred tablets to the governor of Santa Fe. His Holiness the Dalai Lama synchronistically was in town and was invited to privately view the Fire Clan tablets as well. This meeting was a part of the ancient Hopi prophecy and its fulfillment. At the farewell audience for the Dalai Lama with the historic presence of the five Hopi elders, the Sovereign United Nations Manifesto was handed directly to each elder and to the Dalai Lama. That's the Amarushka Ministry of the Children. Tom Talbot, a Santa Fe author and reporter, rode in a caravan of white limos with the Hopi elders and the Dalai Lama to the airport. He witnessed the elders and the Dalai Lama reading and discussing the sovereign nations for over an hour on that ride, and stayed an additional hour waiting at the airport was spent in discussions about the impacts of a truly sovereign United Nations on the world community. And there he is, Chief Dan Evahema, Hopi spiritual leader. Hopi message of peace. The above photo shows Chief Dan Evahema, Hopi spiritual leader, in front of the United Nations, New York, the House of Micah. Chief Dan Evahema died on January 15th, 1999. That's my birthday. At the age of 108. He was a spiritual leader, snake priest, society father, and eldest elder of the traditional Hopi nation, a culture more than, there's that number again, 22,000 years old. Chief Dan was deeply involved in the prophesied visits to the United Nations by the Hopi elders. He was the co-author of Hotevila Shrine of the Covenant and the Hopi Survival Kit. I think I have that. And co-author with David Manonji. Yeah, that guy. The traditional Hopi newsletter. The statement below was his last formal teaching, which he was anxious to communicate to as many people as possible. See, look at them at peace with their grains and their. And people don't, like, a lot of people don't think, well, I would never be happy farming, or I would never be happy just working the land. You don't know that because you probably never have. And I promise that you would, because it's kind of one of the things that we were created to do, to use your hands, right? I don't know. This really touches me. I just really appreciate natural culture like this. Okay, whoop, there we go. I can't never do that when I wanted to do it. Okay, so from Hotevilla, Arizona, in the Hopi sovereign nation, Chief Jan Evahema, then the eldest elder, gave a message to mankind. So here we go with the message to mankind. I'm very glad to have this time to send a message to you. We are celebrating a time in our history which is both filled with joy and sadness. I'm very glad that our Hindu brothers have given us this opportunity to share these feelings with you, because we know many of you are having the same troubles. We Hopi believe that the human race has passed through 3 different worlds and life ways since the beginning. At the end of each prior world, human life has been purified or punished by the Great Spirit, Masau'u, due mainly to corruption, greed, and turning away from the Great Spirit's teachings. The last great destruction was the flood, which destroyed all but a few faithful ones who asked and received a permission from the Great Spirit to live with him in this new land. The Great Spirit said, it is up to you if you are willing to live my poor, humble, and simple life way. It is hard, but if you agree to live according to my teachings and instructions, if you lose faith in the life I shall give you, you may come and live with me. The Hopi and all who were saved from the great flood made a sacred covenant with the Great Spirit at that time. We Hopi made an oath that we will never turn away from him. For us, the Creator's laws never change or break down. To the Hopi, the Great Spirit is all powerful. He appeared he appeared to the first people as a man and talked with them in the beginning of this creation world. He taught us how to live, to worship, where to go, and what food to carry, gave us seeds to plant and harvest. He gave us a set of sacred stone tablets into which he breathed all teachings in order to safeguard his land and life. In these stone tablets were made instructions and prophecies and warnings. This was done with the help of a spider woman and her two grandsons. They were wise and powerful helpers of the Great Spirit. Before the Great Spirit went into hiding, he and Spider Woman put before the leaders of the different groups of people many colors and sizes of corn for them to choose their food in this world. The Hopi was the last to pick and then choose their food in this world. The Hopi chose the smallest ear of corn. That should teach us all something right there. People don't want to hear. They don't want to know what's coming. They're like, well, live it up. We might as well live it up. But you don't get it. You're eternal, so something is going to happen to you. Then Masao said, "You have shown me you are wise and humble." Look, there's their rendition of the Spider Woman. "For this reason, you will be called Hopi, and I will place in your authority all land and life to guard, protect, and hold trust for me until I return to you in later days. For I am the first and the last." So it's almost like if I want to fit into like biblical cosmology, it's almost like God walking with Adam and Eve as a human, the first, right? Walking with the first humans, coming back as Christ to like kind of straighten up our error, and then Christ coming back again, right? The first and the last. He is the first, capital P, prophet, first, everything to come down, and then he's also the last. He will button up all the prophecies, all the prophets, like he is the last of them all. Interesting way to look at it. Okay. This is why when a Hopi is ordained into the higher religious order, the earth and all living things are placed upon his hands. He becomes a parent to all life on earth. He is entitled to advise and correct his children in whatever peaceful way he can. So we can never give up knowing that our message of peace will reach our children. Then it is together with the other spiritual leaders the destiny of our children, our future children is placed. We are instructed to hold this world in balance within the land and the many universes with special prayers and ritual which continue to this day. So what would happen if they were all gone? I touched on that in a couple videos ago. We are instructed to hold this world in balance within the land and the many universes with special prayers and ritual which continue to this day. It was to the Spider Woman's two grandsons the sacred stone tablets were given. These two brothers were then instructed to carry them to a place the Great Spirit had instructed them. The older brother was to go immediately to the east to the rising sun, and upon reaching his destination was instructed to immediately start to look for his younger brother, who shall remain in the land of the Great Spirit. And then you have again one of their tribal priests looking a lot like the iPet Goat 2 caricature. The older brother's mission when he returned was to help his younger brother, Hopi, bring about peace, brotherhood, and everlasting life on his return. Hopi, the younger brother, was instructed to cover all land and mark it well with footprints and sacred markings to claim this land for the Creator and peace on earth. We establish our ceremonials and sacred shrines to hold this world in balance according with our first promise to the Creator. This is how our migration story goes until we meet the Creator at Old Arabi. That means place that solidifies, over 1,000 years ago. It was at that meeting when he gave to us these prophecies to give to you now at this closing of the fourth world of destruction and the beginning of the fifth world peace. So you have the ending of one, the beginning of another, which is kind of how things work. And endings usually come with a tearing down or a destroying. and the beginnings come with hope and building and creating, right? And peace. People are too busy living, just living. He gave us many prophecies to pass on to you all and have come to pass. This is how we know the timing is now to reveal the last warnings and instructions to mankind. We were told to settle permanently here in Hopi land where we met the Great Spirit and wait for older brother who went east to return to us. When he returns to this land, he will place his stone tablets side by side to show all the world that they are our true brothers. When the road in the sky and the road in the sky has been fulfilled, and when the inventing of something in Hopi means gourd of ashes, a gourd that when drops upon the earth will boil everything within a large space and nothing will grow for a very long time. A gourd of ashes. That sounds like a you know what in war that they're describing there. When the leaders turned to evil ways instead of the Great Spirit, we were told there would be many ways this life may be destroyed. If humankind does not heed our prophecy and return to one's original spiritual instructions, we were told of three helpers who were commissioned by the Great Spirit to help Hopi bring about the peaceful life on earth would appear to help us, and we should not change our homes, our ceremonials, our hair, because the true helpers might not recognize us as the true Hopi. So we have been waiting all these years. That's amazing. It is known that our true white brother, when he comes, will be all powerful and will wear a red cap or a red cloak. Fascinating. He will be large in population, belong to no religion but his very own. He will bring with him the sacred stone tablets. With him there will be two great ones, both very wise and powerful. Interesting. One will have a symbol or sign of a swastika, which represents purity. They're talking about the original meaning of it, and is female, a producer of life. The third one, or excuse me, the third one or the second one of the two helpers to our true white brother will have a sign of a symbol of a sun. He too will be many people and very wise and powerful. He too will be many people. Uh, he will be, I need to think on that part. We have in our sacred Kachina ceremonies a gourd rattle, which is still in use today with these symbols of these powerful helpers of the true brother, our true brother. It is also prophesied that if these three fail to fulfill their mission, then the one from the west will come like a big storm. He will be many in numbers and unmerciful. So I guess they mean as leaders of a tribe, or they come from a tribe that is numbered many, something like that. When he comes, he will cover the land like the red ants and overtake this land in one day. If the three helpers chosen by the Creator fulfill their sacred mission, hold please. Somebody's going to say, well, if it's a prophecy, why is it changing? Why is it subject to change? I don't know how to be more clear on this. Jonah. Every prophet comes to warn of a possible future that if you don't turn away from your current path, if you don't go back and turn around, aka repent, just means to change. Okay? If you don't turn away from that, then this is the possibility that's going to happen. Jonah is the perfect example of that. And him and God even had a conversation after the people of Nineveh repented. He said, now they're just going to think I'm some joke. And he was like, well, and that's when he starts this whole conversation with Jonah. But anyways, not all prophecies are they're meant as warnings. Hey, this is going to happen if you continue this way, right? Okay, because free will, guys, free will. Okay, so right there, he will be many in numbers and unmerciful. When he comes, he will cover the land like the red ants and overtake this land in one day. If the three helpers chosen by the Creator fulfill their sacred mission, and even if there are only one, two, or three of the true Hopi remaining, holding fast to the last ancient teaching and instructions, the Great Spirit, Masa'u, will appear before all, and our world will be saved. The three will lay out a new life plan, which leads to everlasting life and peace. The earth will become new as it was from the beginning. Flowers will bloom again, wild game will return to barren lands, and there will be abundance of food for all. Those who are saved will share everything equally, and they all will recognize Great Spirit and speak one language. We are now faced with great problems, not only here but throughout the land. Ancient cultures are being annihilated, our people's lands are being taken from them, leaving them no place to call their own. Why is this happening? It is happening because many have given up or manipulated their original spiritual teachings. The way of life with the Great Spirit has given to all of its people of the world. Written on your heart, right? Whatever your original instructions are not being honored. It is because of this great sickness called greed, which infects every land and country, that simple people are losing what they have kept for thousands of years. That's tragic. That's tragic. Now we're at the very end of our trail. Many people no longer recognize the true path of the Great Spirit. They have, in fact, no respect for the Great Spirit or for our precious Mother Earth, who gives us all life. We are instructed in our ancient prophecy that this would occur. We were told that someone would try to go up to the moon, that they would bring something back from the moon, and that after that, nature would show signs of losing balance. Now we see that coming about. All over the world, there are now many signs that nature is no longer in balance. Floods, drought, earthquakes, and great storms are occurring and causing much suffering. Hold, please. You're going to say, but NASA isn't real and space isn't real, da 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 da. All they know is that at that time, somebody supposedly went to the moon, right? Sometimes prophets get prophecies and all they see are flashes of an image. John, what is it? The book of John, John's apocalypse, the revelation of Jesus Christ at the end. John sees that pride is, great destruction is following pride. He could have saw the pride on a poster for a parade, you know what I'm talking about? And thought, well, what is this happening? And then see great destruction. Oh, okay. You see, and they're using pride in that way, and no matter what, either pride of ego or pride, rainbow hijacker, it leads to you're going against nature, and that can't be done. You can't go against nature, or nature's gonna, there's flashback, there's consequences to face because of that. Hold, please. I mean, you can go against nature, but you're gonna have to deal with the consequences of that. All right, now we see that coming about all over the world. There are now many signs that nature is no longer in balance. Floods, drought, earthquakes, and great storms are occurring and causing much suffering. We do not want this to occur in our country, and we pray to the Great Spirit to save us from such things. But there are now signs that this very same thing might happen very soon on our own land. Now we must look upon each other as brothers and sisters. There is no more time for division between people. Today, I call upon all of us from right here at home, Hotavilla, where we too are guilty of gossiping and causing divisions even among our own families, out to the entire world where thievery, war, and lying goes on every day. These divisions will not be our salvation. Wars only bring more wars, never peace. Only by joining together in a spiritual peace with love in our hearts for one another, love in our hearts for Great Spirit and Mother Earth, shall we be saved from the terrible purification day which is just ahead. There are many of you in this world who are honest people. We know you spiritually, for we are the Men's Society grandfathers who have been charged to pray for you and all life on earth, never forgetting anything or anyone in our ceremonies. Our prayer is to have a good, happy life, plenty of soft, gentle rain for abundant crops. We pray for balance on earth to live in peace and leave a beautiful world to our children yet to come. We know you have good hearts, but good hearts are not enough to help us with these great problems. In the past, some of you have tried to help us Hopis, and we will always be thankful for your efforts. But now we need your help in the worst way. We want the people of the world to know the truth of our situation. This land, which people call the land of freedom, celebrates many days reminding people of the world of these things. Yet in well over 200 years, the original Americans have not seen a free day. We are suffering the final insult. Our people are now losing the one thing which gave life and meaning of life, our ceremonial land, which is being taken away from us. Hotavilla is the last holy, consecrated, undisturbed traditional Native American sacred shrine to the Creator. Ugh. As the prophecy says, this sacred shrine must keep its spiritual pathways open. This village is the spiritual vortex for the Hopi to guide the many awakening Native Americans and other true hearts home to their own unique culture. Hotavilla was established by the last remaining spiritual elders to maintain peace and balance on this continent from the tip of South America up to Alaska. Many of our friends say Hotavilla is a sacred shrine, a national and world treasure, and must be preserved. We need your help. Where's the freedom which you all fight for and sacrifice your children for? Is it only the Indian people who have lost, or are all Americans losing the very thing which you originally came here to find? We don't share the freedom of the press because what gets into the papers is what the government wants people to believe, not what is really happening. We have no freedom of speech because we are persecuted by our own people for speaking our beliefs. We are at the final stages now, and there is a last force that is about to take away our remaining homeland. We are still being denied many things, including the right to be Hopis and to make our living in accordance with our religious teachings. The Hopi leaders have warned leaders in the White House and the leaders in the Glass House. Ooh, United Nations building is glass? I didn't know that. Oh, that's in bad taste. You ever hear the saying, don't throw rocks at glass if you live in a glass house. Don't throw rocks at others if you live in a glass house yourself. Oh, I didn't know that. That's wild. Okay. But they do not listen. So, as our prophecy says, then it must be up to the people with good, pure hearts that would not be afraid to help us to fulfill our destiny in peace for this world. We now stand at a crossroad, whether to lead ourselves in everlasting life or total destruction. We believe that human beings' spiritual power through prayer is so strong, it decides life on earth. So many people have come to Hopi land to meet with us. Some of you we have met on your lands. Many times people have asked how they can help us. Now I hope and pray that your help will come. If you have a way to spread the truth through the newspapers, radios, books, through meeting with powerful people, tell the truth. Tell them what you know to be true. Tell them what you have seen here, what you have heard us say, what you have seen with your own eyes. In this way, if we do fall, let it be said that we tried right up to the end to hold fast to the path of peace as we were originally instructed to do by the Great Spirit. I believe Jesus is a pacifist too, and that won't be, people will drop the video as soon as I say that. You can't make him into what you want him to be. The truth will stand. He did not fight back in Gethsemane. If you're a Christ follower, then follow. Should you really succeed, we all realize our mistakes of the past and return to the true path, living in harmony as brothers and sisters, sharing our mother, the earth, with all living creatures. In this way, we could bring about a new world, a world which would be led by the Great Spirit, and our mother will provide plenty and happiness for all. God bless you, each one of you, and know our prayers for peace meet yours as the sun rises and sets. May the Great Spirit guide you safely into the path of love, peace, freedom, and God on this earth, Mother. May the holy ancestors of love and light keep you safe in your land and homes. Pray for God to give you something important to do in this great work which lies ahead of us all to bring peace on earth. We, the Hopis, still hold the sacred stones, tablets, and now await the coming of our true white brother and others seriously ready to work for the Creator's peace on earth. Be well, my children, and think good thoughts of peace and togetherness. Peace for all life on earth, and peace with one another in our homes, families, and countries. We are not so different in the Creator's eyes. The same great Father Sun shines his love on each of us daily, just as Mother Earth prepares the substance for our table, do they not? We are one after all. Chief Dan Evahema, Hopi elder. And then they get into Prophecy Rock. Let me see how long this has been going. I do got to make fajitas for my son. We're going to end it here. I might do the end of this. We have talked about this ad nauseum about how there are two paths to take on their Prophecy Rock. Let me see how long it looks. Is it just pictures? So this is Hopi Elder Martin at Prophecy Rock. It's a petroglyph near Arabi, Arizona. It's an ancient depiction of the heart of the Hopi prophecy. Below, you'll notice the crosses on each side of the petroglyph. Interesting. And so you have, if I can show you here, you have the first path that some people can choose from, which goes this way. And then you have another path, which goes this way. This first path leads to destruction. The second path is going back to nature and living on the land and being a caretaker of the earth, which leads to joy, peace, and abundance and harmony for those who choose that. Destruction is the other way. What do you suppose the other path is? The other path, my friends, is AI. That's where AI is going to lead everybody. And here are the people who we read about. Okay, so here is the Address to General Assembly, United Nations, December 10th, by Thomas Benyakia, K, Arizona. Is this the same one we read earlier? Okay, my name is Benyakia of the Wolf, Fox, and Coyote clan, and I am a member of the Hopi Sovereign Nation. Hopi in our language means a peaceful, kind, gentle, truthful people. I might as well finish it, right? The traditional Hopi follows the spiritual path that was given to us by the Masau'u, the Great Spirit. We made a sacred covenant to follow his life plan at all times, which includes the responsibility of taking care of this land and life for his divine purpose. We have never made treaties with any foreign nation, including the United States, but for many centuries we have honored this sacred agreement. Our goals are not to gain political control, monetary wealth, nor military power, but rather to pray and to promote the welfare of all living beings and to preserve the earth in a natural way. We still have our ancient sacred stone tablets and spiritual religious societies, which are the foundations of the Hopi way of life. Our history says our white brother should have retained those same sacred objects and spiritual foundations. In 1948, all traditional Hopi spiritual leaders met and spoke of things I felt strongly were of great importance to all people. They selected four interpreters to carry their message, of which I am the only one still living today. At the time, I was given a sacred prayer feather by the spiritual leaders. I made a commitment to carry the Hopi message of peace and deliver warnings from prophecies known since the time the previous world was destroyed by flood and our ancestors came to this land. I got chills when he said that. I'm telling you, the lost tribes. My mission was to open the doors of this great house of Micah to native peoples. The elder said to knock 4 times, and this commitment was fulfilled when I delivered a message in the sacred prayer feather I have been given to John in the Secretary General's office in October 91. I am bringing part of the Hopi message to you here today. We have only 10 minutes to speak, and time is late, so I'm making my statement short. At the meeting in 1948, Hopi leaders, 80, 90, and even 100 years old, explained that the Creator made the first world in perfect balance where humans spoke one language, but humans turned away from moral and spiritual principles. They misused their spiritual powers for selfish purposes. They did not follow nature's rules. Eventually, the world was destroyed by sinking of land and separation of land by what you would call major earthquakes. Many died, and only a small handful survived. Then this handful of peaceful people came into the second world. They repeated their mistakes, and the world was destroyed by freezing, which you call the Great Ice Age. The few survivors entered the third world. That world lasted a long time, and as in previous worlds, the people spoke one language. The people invented many machines and conveniences of high technology, some of which have not yet been seen in this age. They even had spiritual powers that they used for good. They gradually turned away from natural laws and pursued only material things, and finally only gambled while they ridiculed spiritual principles. Wow, that's today. No one stopped them from this course, and the world was destroyed by the Great Flood that many nations still recall in their ancient history or in their religions. The elders said again, only small groups escaped and came to this fourth world where we now live. Our world is in terrible shape again. Though the Great Spirit gave us different languages and sent us to four corners of the world and told us to take care of the earth and all that is in it, this Hopi ceremonial rattle represents Mother Earth. The line running around it is a timeline and indicates that we are in the final days of this prophecy. What have you, as individuals, as nations, and as the world body, been doing to take care of this earth? What have you done today for the earth? It is your home, right? Do you trash your home that you live in? I hope not. I hope not. And if you do, please apologize to your mother and clean it up, clean up your mess. Um, you should not want to live in filth, right? So we should pick up litter when we see it. We should. How much trouble would it be to just carry an extra bag with you on your walk and pick up litter? Little things, right? Make small changes now because time is very late. Okay. In the earth today, humans poison their own food, water, and air with pollution. Many of us, including children, are left to starve. Many wars are still being fought. Greed and concern for material things is a common disease. In this Western Hemisphere, our homeland, many original native people are landless, homeless, starving, and have no medical help. The Hopi knew humans would develop many powerful technologies that would be abused. In this century, we have seen the First World War and the Second World War, in which the predicted gourd of ashes, which you call the atom bomb, fell from the sky with great destruction. Many thousands of people were destroyed in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. For many years, there has been great fear and danger of World War III. The Hopi believe the Persian Gulf War was the beginning of World War III, but it was stopped and the worst weapons of destruction were not used. There is now a time to weigh the choices of our future. We do have a choice. If you, the nations of this earth, create another great war, the Hopi believe we humans will burn ourselves to death with ashes. That's why the spiritual elders stress strongly that the United Nations fully open the door for Native spiritual leaders as soon as possible. Nature itself does not speak with a voice that we can easily understand. How can the animals and birds we are threatening with extinction talk to us? Who in this world can speak for nature and the spiritual energy that creates and flows through all life? In every continent are human beings who are like you, but who have not separated themselves from the land and from nature. It is through their voice that nature can speak to us. You have heard those voices in many messages from the four corners of the world today. I have studied comparative religion, and I think your own nations and cultures, you have knowledge of the consequences of living out of balance with nature and spirit. Yeah, we know and we still do. We still go full bore. Nobody has put the brakes on AI. Nobody's put the brakes on technology. Everybody's okay with AI using hundreds and thousands of liters of water just for a couple of emails. What's it gonna take, man? I really don't know. I've been doing this for how many years? Has anyone changed their daily product practices, their lifestyles? Has anyone started to pray? Has anyone examined their heart today? Are you picking up litter? Are you doing acts of love? I don't know if this channel has helped anybody, if my channel has helped at all. I don't know if this is the way to go forward because people just, they aren't listening. People don't care. You won't care because your job pays you and you'll make whatever compromise they require of you, whether it's wasting paper or, part of the industrial age or revolution with the pollution into the air. We all have to stand firm, and that means in every aspect of our life, with our families, with our jobs. And if they are anti human, anti creation, anti creator, We need to step back as a group because the second we do that, it has no life anymore. We are the spirit together that animates this beast. If we all take a step back from it and stop participating, it's not quite as powerful anymore. I hope that makes sense. Okay. The native peoples of the world have seen and spoken to you about the destruction of their lives and homelands, the ruination of nature, and the desecration of their sacred sites. It is time the United Nations used its rules to investigate these occurrences and stop them now. The Four Corners area of the Hopi is bordered by four sacred mountains. The spiritual center within is a sacred site our prophecies say will have special purpose in the future for mankind to survive, and now should be left in its natural state. All nations must protect this spiritual center. The Hopi and all original native people hold the land in balance by prayer, fasting, and performing ceremonies. Our spiritual elders still hold the land in the Western Hemisphere in balance for all living things, including humans. No one should be relocated from their sacred homelands in this Western Hemisphere or anywhere in the world. Acts of forced relocation, such as public law 93-531 in the United States, must be repealed. What is that law? We're going to have to look it up. The United Nations stands on our native homeland. The United Nations talks about human rights, equality, and justice, and yet the native people have never had a real opportunity to speak to the assembly since its establishment until today. The United Nations stands on our native homeland. It should be the mission of your nations and this assembly to use your power and rules to used its rules to investigate these occurrences and stop them now. Okay, I did that. No. Must be repealed. It should be the mission of your nations and this assembly to use your power and rules to examine and work to cure the carnage or the damage people have done to this earth and to teach others. Hopi elders know that was your mission and they wait to see whether you will act now. Nature, the first people, and the spirit of our ancestors are giving you loud warnings. Today, wow, December 10th, 92, you see increasing floods, more damaging hurricanes, hailstorms, climate changes, and earthquakes, as our prophecy said would come. Even animals and birds are warning us with strange change in their behavior, such as the beaching of whales. Why do animals act like they know about the Earth's problems and most humans act like they know nothing? If we humans do not wake up to the warnings, the great purification will come to destroy this world as the previous worlds were destroyed. Hold, please. This was in 1992. Some people, just like with the Bible, will say, well, geez, so what? That was then. Look, it's still happening. It's always happened, and nothing's going to change. That's the ignorance that will get us in another Noah type situation. Just saying. Okay, this rock drawing shows part of the Hopi prophecy. There are two paths. The first with and this is the meat again, and of course nobody's watching, but this is the meat. The first with technology, but separate from natural and spiritual law, leads to these jagged lines representing chaos. Interesting. Representing chaos. Sorry, nobody was watching, so I had to go out and go back in just to make sure this was working here. Okay. Now, this is the best part of this. So this rock drawing, the one that we showed above, shows part of the Hopi prophecy that this is like kind of where we're at right now, but this would be towards the end of the prophecy. There are two paths. The first with technology, but separate from natural and spiritual law, leads to these jagged lines representing chaos. The lower path is one that remains in harmony with natural law. Here we see a line that represents a choice, like a bridge joining the paths. If we return to spiritual harmony and live from our hearts, we can experience a paradise in this world. If we continue only on this upper path, we will come to destruction. It's up to all of us as children of Mother Earth to clean up this mess before it's too late. The elders request that during this International Year for the World's Indigenous Peoples, the United Nations keep that door open for spiritual leaders from the four corners of the world to come to speak to you for more than a few minutes as soon as possible. The elders also request that 8 investigative teams visit the native areas of the world and tell the truth about what is being done and stop these nations from moving in this self destructive direction. If any of you leaders want to learn more about the spiritual power of the elders, I invite you to come out to Hopi land and sit down with our real spiritual leaders in their sacred kivas, where they will reveal the ancient secrets of survival and balance. I hope that all members of this assembly that know the spiritual way will not just talk about it, but in order to have real peace and harmony, will follow what it says across the United Nations wall. They will beat their swords into plowshares and study war no more. Let's get together to do that now. And that is a verse in the Bible. It's also indicative of the animals. There's a verse about that. And that was the Hopi spiritual elder and traditional spokesman who spoke in 1992 to the United Nations. Right. And this just gives you more of like them getting, but you've heard the prophecies and you've seen what we said. I hope that you did stay for the meat of everything. Okay, so thank you so much for being here, guys. It was a pleasure to hang out with you, especially with all this rain we're getting right now. I'm going to try and get my dogs to go outside. They hate the rain. They're not great at that. I have to say, if somebody invited me to Hopi Land, I would drop everything and probably go. It just seems like, you know how people like they go on retreat and they say, "Oh, I need a break." I think we need a forever retreat from this way of life. Everybody's exhausted. Nobody wants to do it anymore. How can you get away from that? Planning your own food, eating your own food, and living a more natural lifestyle. People don't want to put down the toys, but Kanye West was right about this. It's just toys, it's just stuff. They don't last very long. If you learn how to tell time in the sky, you don't need a watch. If you learn to have a song in your heart all the time, you don't need the MP3 player or whatever they have now. I don't know what y'all listen to. um, just examples for you. Make small changes today. Carry a bag with you. Pick up trash in your community, in your neighborhood. Use less gas. It's not good for the environment. It's not good for the air. And I know people, they don't want to be forced into things. They don't want to be told what to do. I completely understand that. These are changes you should want to make so that your family, your children can have a future here, especially in the times we're in, because it would seem and appear that we are in a time of judgment. Um, so, what can you do today to make your day a little different and to brighten up your own corner of the earth? How can you be helpful to the people that you run into? The song that was running through my head all day yesterday, and I kind of think of it when I upload shorts. These are the people in my neighborhood, in my neighborhood. I was just thinking, these are the sights in my neighborhood. What can you do around your own environment to be more natural, right? And the problem is we have people on both sides who act like grown bullies, and that is a really bad fad that is everywhere right now. I deal with it all the time. Why are you a grown person engaging in bullying of another human being? What does that do for you or bring to you, right? How can we change our daily behavior and habits to get away from this toxic, constant, sarcastic attitude? And I would advise way less screen time. I was able to clean up my mouth pretty quickly again, as long as I'm not watching things and around people that cuss all the time. So it's just making small daily changes every day. The problem is we don't know how much time there is, and it seems like things are changing. So you might not have that much time as to where daily small changes are enough. If anyone's up for an exodus and wants to protest the system and is ready to live in a different way, I am game. Like, I'm game to go to the Four Corners. I think that sounds like pretty cool to me. Anyways, y'all have a blessed day. I'm going to go make some fajitas for the men folk. Not for me. Mine will be chickpea fajitas, but just the same, I hope I enjoy them. And I will see y'all again soon. Watch for a short or two I might upload. I appreciate when you watch those. It gives me an idea of if I should do Sammy his own solo channel or not. So thanks so much, guys.